Okay, the next one on here, the second in the series is Fiscal Policy G and T. Remember, fiscal policy is government spending and taxation. Okay, you increase G in a recession. You can draw this lovely diagram on here, AD dash. Okay, we can increase G, no problem there. AD to AD dash, double dash is a slight trade-off. And then we get demand pull inflation. However, in a recession, negative output gap, you would increase G, multiplier accelerator kicks in, we might get crowding in. Okay. Increased G, intervention supply side, good idea, green revolution, etc. Part of industrial policy. 2050, you want to get to net carbon zero. If it works, then we'll get cheaper energy at the end of the day. But obviously, if we increase G, the national debt will go up. Or we can have, thirdly, we can have a budget deficit reduction, which is where we decrease G or we raise taxes. Austerity 2000 to 2019, we tried to decrease G, that will lead to a fall in AD. Is this a good idea or is it not a good idea? Or number four, we can increase direct taxes. Is this a good idea? Bring in the Laffer curve. Okay, recently we've increased corporation tax from 19 to 25%. Is this a good idea? Are we freezing thresholds? So that means that you start paying 40% tax at over 50,000 quid. And if we don't change that threshold, then more people will go into that band. So you'll collect more taxation revenue, or we can increase income tax, etc., etc. Okay, or we can decrease taxes. Then we bring the Laffer curve again, obviously. And this is the monstrous idea, the free market view, that will lead to an increase to a rise in the underlying trend rate of growth. Or we can lead to an increase in direct taxes. That will create cost push inflation. It is also regressive. But that's another way of raising more finance. The context of 2024, and also talk about the context of 2009, 2020, negative output gap. Right now in 2024, we've got a zero output gap. Okay, so fiscal policy, 2023, 2024. Our budget deficit, this year we're thinking about 5% of GDP. In 2023, it was 5% of GDP. In 2022, it was 5% of GDP. 2021, it was 5% of GDP, right? These are large budget deficits. But in 2020, it was 15% of GDP. That was obviously during COVID. The reason why it was so large last year was because of the energy scheme. The government spent £40 billion on subsidising energy for the UK consumer. Okay, so we need to increase G in 2009, 2011 because we were in a recession. That was a good idea. Some people argued that we should have increased G by even more. We had a negative output gap. So in 2008, we had a 7.5% budget deficit, 2009, 10%, and 2010, 9%. Okay, so pretty big budget deficits again. In 2020, modern monetary financing was also used, but the budget deficit then was 15% of GDP. Right, the other big date was austerity between 2000 and 2009 when we tried to decrease G, budget deficit reduction, but that created a problem in the NHS. We've now got an 8 million people waiting list in that area. Would an increase in G create faster growth? That is the big question. Okay, next up, you increase G in a recession. Yep, same diagram again. AD dash, AD double dash. We do it too much, we'll eventually get demand pull inflation. Tell the examiner all of this. In 2024, our output gap is virtually zero. But we are in recession, so it's a highly unusual case. So if we increase G in a recession, and then we're going to end up in this place here. However, if we can increase productive capacity, intervention supply side, NHS 8.4 million waiting list, green revolution or increase in broadband, that will increase AS and AD, and if it works, then that is clearly a good idea because we're going to get a rise in national income. The perfect paragraph, increasing G, which is called capital investment, not the Liz Truss effect, which was decreasing taxes, which meant that everybody started selling sterling. There was a run on the money markets. Okay, then we move into like the perfect paragraph. Increasing G, multiplier accelerator interaction, an increase in G will lead to a faster rise in national income, the size of which will depend on the multiplier. Okay, you may get the crowding out effect, increase in G, increase in national debt, rising debt interest payments, higher taxes in the future, all the problems of rising national debt, obviously. However, we may also get crowding in. Crowding in is if there's an increase in G, there's an increase in national income, there'll be more funds available for businesses, plus an increase in G, more demand. Therefore, businesses will undertake more investment. So we could have a green revolution, and this will be the ideal scenario, obviously, or spend more money on preventive medicine, or spend more money on the NHS, or battery technology. That is all part of industrial policy. And then between 2000 and 2019, remember that we had austerity. Was that the right idea? So we can have a really nice essay right now on should we increase government spending. Okay, next one up here. If we decrease G 2000 and 2019 during austerity, the idea was to decrease G. Basically, the idea was really is if we decrease G in the future, then we could then decrease taxes. There'd be more rise in entrepreneurship. This is like free market economics, 2.5 to 4%, increase the underlying trend rate of growth. Then with faster economic growth, we can increase AD. Then we have discussion about lower taxes. Think corporation tax in Southern Ireland. Increase investment, increase in AS and AD, Ireland 12.5%. In 2022, they had an economic growth rate of 13.6%, whilst the UK had an economic growth rate of 0%. But Trump also decreased corporation tax from 36 to 21%, and it didn't really work. Okay, so we've got the perfect paragraph on all of that. Significant. If we increase direct taxes, is this a good idea? We draw the Laffer curve again. If we increase direct taxes, then there's more money for capital investment. And it also pays off the national debt. So we've got a lovely essay in terms of that. But it also depends upon the output gap. Okay, so right now in 2023, we did really increase direct taxes because we kept the tax thresholds the same, which is called fiscal drag. But it also depends upon the output gap. So not a bad idea to increase taxes in 2023. Increase in direct taxes stops demand pull inflation. However, in 2023, we've also got a recession on, really strange times. So it depends upon the situation. If we're in a boom period, you may want to increase taxes, but also we might want to spend more money on capital investment. Not a bad idea. Or we can decrease taxes, and we've got the Laffer curve again. If the UK is close to recession, which we are in 2024, maybe it's a good idea to increase AD, and it would also help to improve national debt. Sorry, it would increase national debt, and maybe that's a bad idea. Okay, so you've got the idea: zero output gap, reducing corporation tax, not income tax, appears to be a pretty good idea. Increasing direct taxes, again, that will increase cost push inflation. It's also highly regressive. Those on lower incomes will spend a greater proportion of their income on that tax. That is a regressive tax. It's not equitable. Or we could decrease direct tax, and then obviously it'd be more equitable, and it will decrease its cost push inflation. And finally, a budget deficit in recession. Yeah, we'd all agree with that. A budget surplus in a boom period. Yes, we'd all agree with that. Or a balanced budget. Yes, maybe in 2024, maybe you want to try and get hold of that. Right, my argument would always be, though, we want to increase G because we want to get to net carbon zero. We want to increase G because we need to spend more money on the NHS. We want to increase G because spend more money on broadband. Intervention supply side argument. In 2024, zero output gap, really specialised situation, even though we're close to a recession. So maybe if we have intervention supply side, we can get over this. 2009, 2020, we definitely want to increase G. Remember the figures. Fiscal policy, done.